Hey all, Glenn Kirschner here. Please enjoy this video on the Political Voices Network.
Glenn, I said when, obviously the Jack Smith filing dropped, for those of us like you and us and, that marinate in this stuff, I can still be shocked by the depth and breadth of Donald Trump's criminality. When Michael Waldman tweeted, the unsealed evidence in the January 6th case underscores how outrageous it was that the Supreme Court blocked Donald Trump's criminal trial this year. It amounts to a judicially executed cover-up. I mean, I don't know what word to use. Stunning? Talk a little bit about your initial reaction.
Well, first, the Supreme Court declared the Constitution unconstitutional. We're going to need to tackle that in the future. But, Steph, when you get to read, I urge everybody to read the first 85 pages, because that is the factual proffer. That's the narrative. That is the story of the insurrection. It's laid out beautifully in chronological order, which is fun to read that way, because we get 3-minute, snips and bits and pieces over time. 5 criminal conspiracies, 5, and they all failed. Donald Trump first had his co-conspirators. I use that term advisedly. His lawyers are his co-conspirators in this brief. His co-conspirators filed 60 bogus lawsuits. They all failed. He then moved on to criminal scheme number 2, the pressure campaign on state election officials. Find me 11,780 votes, and it failed. His third criminal scheme, the fake elector scheme, failed. His fourth criminal scheme, the pressure campaign trying to get his vice president, Mike Pence, to violate the law, the Electoral Count Act, failed. And then finally, the insurrection, the attack on the Capitol. And the two most damning words in those 85 pages are, so what? Mm-hmm. As he sat in that dining room off the Oval Office watching the insurrection, sitting on his Twitter feed, and somebody came in and said, they're hunting for your vice president, they're going to hurt him. He said, so what? He has a constitutional duty to take care that the laws of the nation are faithfully executed. That man can never come within 1,000 miles of the Oval Office again.
How about the note that a civilian's been shot trying to breach the house, and he just, threw the note aside, blah, blah, blah. And then he's getting all these fake crocodile tears for, what's her name? Insurrectionist. Who got shot?
Ashley Babbitt.
Yes. Okay.
And that's a shame that she was duped into doing Donald Trump's dirty work, and she got killed for it.
Yep. Yeah. You said Watergate produced 69 indictments, 48 convictions. Jack Smith's brief contains 77 P designation, political operatives and private persons, not all of whom are criminally culpable. Some are just witnesses regarding indictments. Jack Smith is just getting warmed up. And by the way, you wrote a whole great piece about, Trump tried to block Jack Smith's immunity brief. It backfired. I mean, I love how much of this is his own doing. He's the one that, his delays always worked for him. He's the one that's delayed this. An innocent person wants to hurry up and prove their innocence and get it over with before the election. But talk about that a little bit. So it was also to comply with the Supreme Court's command. You write, Chutkan needs to see all the evidence of Trump's conduct on and around January 6th. So that's why this happened, right? It's because of his stacked Supreme Court.
Yeah, he said, I want absolute immunity. And the Supreme Court said, well, we'll give you a healthy dose of immunity, but we are directing Judge Chutkan to look at all the evidence, litigate the issue, and then, decide which of your crimes are the official conduct of a president, none, and which are not official conduct, so that you can be prosecuted. That would be all of his crimes at the end of the day. So he got exactly what he asked for. And then he yells and screams that it's election interference because Judge Chutkan gets to look at the evidence and litigate it publicly. Well, news alert, the Constitution provides for what? Public trials. You can't do this stuff behind closed doors. And, I love that filing where he was yelling and screaming before she released this brief, saying, no, please don't release anything because I'm afraid that the witnesses might be harmed, harassed, threatened. The same dude who had to have his big fat orange mouth gagged so he wouldn't endanger the witnesses is now just concerned for witness safety.
Yeah, sure. Sudden concern for witness security. Wow. So I was going to say, bring us up to date, Glenn. You write in your piece, Chutkan set 2 deadlines, October 1st to object to redactions, October 10th to object to redactions in the appendix materials. Talk to us. I don't know take us through this legal maze.
Yeah. So Judge Chutkan just issued a minute order modifying her schedule So it looks like we might not see anything else filed until November 7th. That will be Donald Trump's opposition to Jack Smith's attempt to say, look, sport, you don't have immunity for anything. So the open question, Steph, is whether we're still going to see a filing on October 10, which will be a lot like the October 1st filing saying, please don't make anything public in the appendix. Well, you know what? We already got the narrative. And yes, we want to see the appendix, which is the supporting evidence that will prove what's in the narrative in the brief that was just revealed.
Yeah.
It's grand jury transcripts and FBI write-ups and all of that. I want to see that too. But look, we already got the story. So it looks like this may be where we are in this case until after the election, which is fine. We have enough to go to the polls and vote Donald Trump guilty right now.
Yeah. Well, and also, hopefully karma and justice will come all at once. You end your piece by saying Trump may inadvertently have hastened the day when he finally faces justice, right? Between his, being the ones responsible for the delay and then this Supreme Court nonsense. And I keep asking, Glenn, how, I don't, obviously we know it's a ridiculous ruling, but isn't it worse if they're official acts? Right? Than if they're private acts. I mean, so now we have to tap dance around. How is it official to overthrow the government? How could that possibly be an official duty?
Steph, and how is it? The one thing that Jack Smith had to pull out of his case, his indictment, was Donald Trump enlisting DOJ officials into his conspiracy to overturn the election's results. Corrupt DOJ lawyer Jeffrey Clark, who joined Donald Trump's conspiracy to corrupt and weaponize the Department of Justice and use it to go after the battleground states and try to get them to throw the election to him instead of to Joe Biden. And the Supreme Court said, hey, that is within the president's core constitutional functions. He gets to use his Department of Justice officials to try to undermine the votes of the American people. That's crazy stuff that the Supreme Court would say that. And I don't understand it. But you know what? Listen, over time, Steph, Supreme Court opinions have fallen, whether it's Dred Scott, Plessy versus Ferguson, Korematsu, or unfortunately Roe v. Wade also fell. And you know what? We generally will fix it over time. And this is one we have to fix, hopefully, by getting after corrupt Supreme Court justices.
Yeah. Well, election season is a sweet time of the year, right? As candidates coat their messages with lots of sugar to get your vote. Yeah, I said that. Now you can enjoy the sweetness of the election with authentic candidate cookies with the likeness of Kamala and Donald on your favorite butter cookie made by the famous deli in Chicago, Max and Benny's. You can purchase these once-in-a-lifetime cookies on the Stephanie Miller, Thom Hartmann, and John Fugelsang websites. To order, go to our websites, click on the banner for cookie candidates, or go directly to their website, cookiecandidates.com.